So, flying high,
Yes.
feeling good,
Yes.
wide open,
Yes.
receptive mode,
Yes.
look over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love that. And I know I'm not going to bring any issues in here, but I'm an artist, and when I paint and write, I really revel in it. And
Can you feel when you are painting or writing, let's talk about that, it may be easier for you to feel it. Do you feel your momentum increasing? Do you feel that when you first sit, that it takes a little while to get the juices flowing, but once you focus, that it begins to happen, and then you know what to do?
yes.
And that if those juices aren't flowing, that you might as well stop for now.
Yes. Yes.
And come back at another time when you're
Yes.
more plugged in.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Continue.
And I'm just wondering, since I met you and my inner voice, my life has been very much better, and I think everything is working out, and I'm blossoming, and my
Yes.
family is blossoming.
Yes.
And
Do you understand that even in a moment in time when something's happening that doesn't feel like it's working out, it still really is?
yes, I know.
Those are called issues.
Yes, I know.
But even in the middle of those, it still is working out because
Yes.
it's you seeing something, it's helping you to become more decisive,
Yes.
it's helping you gain clarity,
Yes.
it's helping you focus more clearly.
Yes.
We're happy to talk with you about whatever is important to you.
Well, it's my passion about being an artist, and I don't understand why I would want to make a living out of it, because my husband earns a lot of money on organic farming, and I really know that everything is given to me, so why is my desire to live from it and get it out in the world and earn money on it, why is that
Well, you
so?
see, you don't have to justify why you want something.
No,
You don't have to explain
No.
why you want your work to be honored.
no.
You don't have to explain why when Jerry and Esther first began receiving us, they had many hours of conversation with each other and then eventually with us about whether they should ask for a fee.
Yes.
And we said to them, it doesn't need to be, but it is in your world at this time, that people associate value with something that they, in other words, there's a balance in the giving and receiving. And there's a stronger expectation in the receiving if there is something that is offered, if there's something that is wanted enough that something is offered. And so we encouraged them to set a price that was high enough that it caused that flowing in individuals, but not so high that it was restrictive in nature or caused hardship, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they settled into that balance, nothing has changed since the very beginning. That was in the early 80s. And so the reason that often there is this feeling of exchange is because there's a balance in that. There's a balance in the giving and in the receiving. And so as you're in the process of receiving the energy and translating the energy into something, that process, the natural flow of that, the intention within the art, in other words, we suppose it is possible that you might just want to paint and paint and paint and paint. We suppose you could paint over the same canvas over and over and over and over again. But there's something wonderful about coming to a culmination and feeling the satisfaction of what was in your mind and what was in your vibration now turning to things on the canvas. And there's something really rewarding that in that now existence of that vibrational creation, that it is now emanating a vibration that others who are in a similar vibration can feel.
Yes.
And do you know that when they focus upon it, they not only receive the benefit of what it has come to, if they are really tuned in, they can receive the same energy stream that created it to begin with.
Yes.
One day, Jerry and Esther were visiting with a friend that they knew from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she was a renowned artist. And they went to her home and saw her galleries of these magnificent landscapes and still lifes. And she had painted them over a long period of time, and they were popular in many galleries around the world. And so Jerry and Esther looked at them, and her husband demonstrated how when he turned the light up that you could literally watch the sun rise, and when he turned the light down, you could see the sunset.
Yes.
In other words, the paintings were magical. And Esther said to Doris, well, how long did it take you to paint that one?
A whole life.
And her answer was 73 years.
Yes.
Because she understood that everything that she was, in other words, everything that she was, everything that she'd gathered, everything that she had lived had caused her to focus into the powerful moment in time when she was receiving. And so this art that is flowing through you is a living, breathing conversation that is full of so much that you want to share with others.
Yes.
And they will appreciate it more if it's someplace, first of all, where they can find it, and next of all, where they can feel it, and next of all, where they can possess it, where they can own it, where they can take it home to cherish it themselves, you see. And Esther and Jerry purchased 4 of her paintings, and they are in Esther's home now. And every time Esther sees them, she feels the fullness of who she knew that woman to be. In other words, they are more than just something painted on a canvas. They are energy, and they are life, and they are something that you want to share in the same way that you want to share who you are. Now, we have just given you justification in the same breath that we say you don't need justification. But we really want you to feel fullness about all of you, about whoever you are and whatever it is you are offering. Yeah.
Yes.
Something more?
Yes. When my father croaked, he sent me a wonderful message in the night about how he was eager and young and well, and he didn't even have time to talk.
He's not young, he's older than ever.
Yes, he looked young, and he didn't even have time. He just yelled, "It's all as we talked about, Charlotte," and then he went on to something really exciting. And then a few months later, he gave me a message, as I understood it, from a former life when I was in a cave, and I was a bearer of knowledge, writing things down, and I was not supposed to get out of that cage if I didn't want to say that the humans are not free.
Well, it's important that we give you this.
Yes.
Because the conversation that we just had, and before, and what's coming next, we want you to feel the power, importance of now.
Yes.
And we want you to know that your father, or any of us who are non-physically focused, we are not ever looking back. Not back at what you did yesterday, and certainly not back at your past life.
So what was it then?
So it's your translation of something. Undoubtedly, you're needing to justify something here and now. In other words, what was the message?
It was something about that I should understand that the way I suppressed myself in my life maybe had to do with something between him and me. Something about understanding that I suppressed myself and I didn't have to do it anymore.
That would very likely be a message that he would send you, but what was the thing about the cave and the past life and the being locked in and the not being able to get out? Who made that up?
I don't know. That's what I saw. Do you think did I just make that up?
No, you didn't make it up. You saw it clearly, but what we meant was, where did you get it? And it gives us this opportunity to explain something really important to you.
Yes.
So you have the understanding of how you were non-physical and now you're here, and how you've put things into the vortex and now the vortex is unfolding for you. You understand all of that scenario. And so as you feel the importance of your relationship with your inner being now, and and this is the key part, as you care mostly about how you feel so that you can sync up with what your inner being knows, then the messages come clearly. Now here's what we mean. Your inner being, which includes your father, in other words, all of these non-physicals who adore you, who know you, many of them who you knew, many of them you don't know, calling you to the fullness of who you are, to where they stand and to the fullness of who you are. But what you hear has to do with where you are. In other words, you're translating through your whatever state of being you're in. So let's say you're all frisky, you're feeling good, you're high-flying, you've been meditating, you've been appreciating, you've had your feet in the water, you're really in a good state of being, and your inner being is calling you towards some idea or some thought, and when you hear it purely. And there's a gold dress.
Yes. Yes.
But what if you are discouraged or vulnerable or feeling depressed or worried about something? And so then your inner being is calling you, but you translate it in a way that sounds quite different. Your inner being still called you. Your inner being is still calling you, but what you're hearing has to do with your ability to hear. You see what we're getting at?
But do you know what the message was from your point of the vortex then? If it wasn't the cage and suppressing and all of that?
Feels utterly meaningless and distorted to us in every way.
Really? Why doesn't it feel meaningless to me?
Because you are the translator of it. In the same way you paint pictures,
Yes.
you're painting that picture. There's something, there's a belief that you hold,
Yes.
that image validates. It's the reason that people look for past life regression. And we always say, we don't know if you're getting somebody else's, your past
Yes.
life or somebody else's, but one
I've
thing
heard
is
that.
certain, it is a vibrational match to how you're feeling right now.
Yes.
Or at the time that you received it. So we're not asking you to just jump into the knowing that we hold.
Yeah.
We're just saying to you that your inner being is aware of where you are in this powerfully focused moment in relationship to where you want to be. And that's the conversation that's always going on. And if you're hearing something else, then you're translating it from some point of view that your inner being is not offering.
Very good.
Your inner being would never tell you a story to validate your bondage. Your inner being will never tell you a story to justify your feeling of inadequacy or your feeling of being caged. Your inner being is not telling you those kind of stories. You see that stuff at the movies. That's not coming from your inner being.
Interesting.
Enough?
No, can I ask more? Is that okay? It's just about decisions, because I kind of like to live in the now and flow into a moment, and then...
Well, we like hearing that from you. Is it true?
Sometimes, yes. And then I'm married.
So then why did we just spend so much time talking about some dream, about some cage, and some
right.
past life? Both can't be true.
You're right. That's why I'm sitting here, because I get kind of confused about myself.
We just want you to make choices, to understand that you're making the choices.
Yes.
That your now is as confused as you make it, or as clear as you make it.
So how do I make it very clear?
By caring about how you feel and not spending any time talking about something that doesn't feel good when you tell the story.
Yes.
So we'll ask you the question. First, we'll ask them the question. Did you like the cave story? Did you like the cage story? Did you enjoy her bondage? Did you like it? So why tell the story? Because there's a belief that you should just talk about anything that you think. In other words, it's really interesting. We love you humans so much, but you are really interesting creatures in this way. Because we know it's a big price that we're asking you to pay to think thoughts of happiness. and we're doing a good sales job to try to get you to understand the benefit of that. But there's really something interesting when you're willing to go to a past life to dig up stuff to worry about.
That's right. That's right. But this thing about living in the now, I like that part of the time.
Good, because you have no other choice. You can't focus other
That's
than
right.
now. You can't focus other than now. In other words, whether you're exploring past, present, or future, you're doing it now. And this is the part about now that we really want you
Yes.
to feel. Right now, your inner being is focused right now at the same time that you are focused right now. In other words, we can call it a physical and a non-physical dimension, but it's all happening right now. It's all consciousness focused now. So when you get it, that your inner being is focused with you now and has a perspective, you might say an opinion, while you do not like the word opinion very much because you don't want someone to have an opinion about what you should do. But when it's the you of you of you of you of you, maybe you could accept the opinion a little bit. But your inner being has a perspective of here and now. Your inner being has a perspective of everything that you're about, of every conversation that you have, of every subject that you're upon. Your inner being has a perspective about it. And the emotion that you feel is your indicator of the variance between the perspective of your inner being and the perspective of you. So if you want to feel good, you just have to kind of mess around with it a little bit until you find it. Esther's granddaughter, Kate, played a game with Jerry and Esther when she was very little. It was her favorite game and theirs too. They would go into the big building, into the big center room where the Abraham Hicks Publications is. And at that time, the room had no furniture in it. It was just a big room and lots of carpet and not much else going on in there. And Kate would hide a button somewhere in the room, behind a drapery or up under something or on a ledge or on a windowsill. She would hide this button, and it was Jerry and Esther's job to find it. And Kate knew where it was, and she wanted them to find it. She was little enough then that she was not yet wanting to play tricks on them. She wanted them to find the button, and she liked knowing that she could give them the clues. So she would say, "You're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting colder, you're getting colder." And Jerry would get a sense of which direction it was, and then he would deliberately go the other way, just so that she would have variety in her clues. And she would get so animated as she would say, "No, no, it's colder, that's colder, that's colder, that's colder." And it's the same thing. That negative emotion means that's further, that's more resistant, that's more resistance, that's more resistance, that's further from what you want, that's further away, that's further away. You're getting closer, you're getting closer, you're getting closer, you're getting closer. And so feel the power of your emotions and understand that your inner being knows where everything is. And all of that is given to you now. Not before and not later, now. It's all now. Every emotional experience you have is now, which means your relationship between your inner being and you is now, which means everything that your inner being knows about you and your inner being is broadcasting to you, it's all happening now. And you translate it, if you will translate it first through emotion. In other words, don't try to translate it into sounds. Don't try to translate it into words. Don't try to translate it into things that I should go do right now. Just translate it into how does it feel? How does it feel? How does it feel? Until you zero in, till you tune in, till you hone in on the vibrational frequency of happy, of feeling good. And then once you maintain that vibration for a while, then what happens is that happy, which is a vibration which you are translating in your solar plexus, moves into thoughts that you are translating into words, which you are translating into impulses, that you are translating into action, that you are translating into full-blown manifestations of all nature.
Thank you. But you did say to me that it was easier with my painting than my writing. Could you help me with a focus wheel or rampage on writing?
They are equal.
They're equal?
They are equal. It's time for you to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question about the relationship between consciousness and the body, and the translation of consciousness through the body, and what you just said about the vibration of happy coming from the solar plexus and then flowering out, something like that. I've also heard you talk about thought as vibration. I'm curious and a little confused about what comes, not so much what comes first, but the relationship between the creation of vibration between my body and my consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yes? First, we want to say that there is a vibration that gathers enough momentum that it becomes thought. And at the point that it becomes thought, and let's call that thought a manifestation, because it was vibration and now it's thought. Now it's something recognizable by your consciousness. So when that thought occurs, then the emotional response comes, because there's already a thought. Your inner being is vibration that is projecting in such a powerful way that if you could read the vibration, if you could translate the vibration, Esther's getting these vibrations at an unconscious level and translating them into full-blown sentences. And so there is a very powerful thought vibration that is a very large manifestation not in the background, in the foreground, but happening simultaneously with the thought that is now occurring to you. So once that thought occurs to you, now you have a vibrational relationship between the thought that occurred to you and the thought that your inner being is thinking about the same thing in the same time. And that's what equals emotion. So the way we have always said that simply is that the thought comes first and then the emotion responds to the thought. We just explained to you more fully why that is. So every cell of your body, trillions of them, transmitting and receiving mechanism, consciousness, offering vibrations. Now, from a human standpoint, you wouldn't think those vibrations are really thoughts because you're not picking up on them, not really. Your inner being is, though. Remember, your inner being's over here with all this vibration going on. So your inner being has this wonderful communication going on with the fullness of your physical apparatus all the time. All the time. Now, when you're happy, all your circuits are open. You're allowing that conversation to go on. Now, it's not a conversation that you want to be in on necessarily. You don't want to talk about food digesting and blood pumping and in other words, you don't need to have all of that information. You don't even really want to have all of that information. Esther's offering it in very rudimentary fashion here. In other words, there is so much communication between the cells of your body and this source energy that if you could take one day of it, you wouldn't have enough time in this life just to decipher it and fully understand it. We're just saying to you, it's happening. So as it happens, as you're happy, as you're plugged in, then your circuits are all wide open. You're allowing the full communication, and off you go. You know how when you feel thirsty?
Again?
Thirsty? That's a manifestation that happens within you as a result of the conversation between your inner being and the cells of your body. You know how when you yawn and can't suppress it? That's you translating into a manifestation the request that the cells have put in for more oxygen in this moment to feed these cells of your body. In other words, you are often, without even knowing it, cooperating with the conversation between this source energy and your cells. So now, you are very articulate in your opening words to us. Can you go back and find them again?